Hello, welcome to USA Celebrity Gossip. Here we are going to talk about the trending news and relationship stories about the most popular celebrities. To get regular updates, please subscribe. Why Elvis Presley's death continues to stir conspiracy theories. Actually, no. A little more conversation, a little less. Elvis Presley continues to be a topic of conversation around the world. Elvis was a captivating and beautiful performer, as Baz Luhrmann shows in his upcoming biopic, which will feature Austin Butler in the title role. Men desired to be him, and women desired to be with him. Beyond his good looks, he had one of the finest talents in the world, with the ability to sing, dance, and perform like no other person in his generation. So it's easy to understand why devoted fans might like to envisage a different scenario in which Elvis is still alive, or one in which he didn't pass away so tragically at the age of 42. Because of rumors of a covert autopsy and the disclosure of FBI documents, conspiracy theories surrounding his life and death have gained popularity since 1977. Additionally, there are those intriguing images of Elvis with President Richard Nixon. The reality, however, is not as dazzling as his life was. To understand more about the mysterious world of the king of rock and roll, continue reading. Where was Elvis Presley when he died? It turns out that the allegations that Elvis passed away in his Graceland home while using the restroom are mostly accurate. His fiancée Ginger Alden did discover the 42-year-old near death on the bathroom floor, despite the fact that the death certificate states he actually passed away at the Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee on August 16, 1977. "I stood paralyzed as I took in the scene," she wrote in her 2014 memoir Elvis and Ginger. Elvis looked as if his entire body had completely frozen in a seated position while using the commode and then had fallen forward, in that fixed position, directly in front of it. The singer was barely breathing and, as she put it, his face was blotchy, with purple discoloration. How did Elvis Presley die? For many years, and with good cause, people have conjectured about the singer's cause of death. 3 doctors, Eric Muirhead, Jerry Francisco, and Noel Florido, performed an autopsy in the days after Elvis' passing, but their findings weren't made public until 2 months later. Not that information about their idol's dying had to be kept from the public until October. In a news conference on August 17, Francisco did in fact provide his preliminary results to the media, noting that it looked Elvis passed away from a heart attack. The team, according to the doctor, was unable to identify the reason of the heart attack, according to the New York Times. Although many believed he had overdosed, Francisco dispelled such claims by saying the only medications found were those that had been given to the singer by his personal doctor, Dr. George Nichopoulos, also known as Dr. Nick. However, the toxicology results showed that considerable amounts of barbiturates, sedatives, depressants, and other drugs were present in Elvis' system, leading to claims that Francisco misled the public regarding the cause of death. These suspicions lingered up until 1994, when a Tennessee health official reportedly corroborated Francisco's results, according to the AP, but it was already too late. The conspiracy notion of fabricated autopsies and cover-ups was already prevalent. What was Elvis Presley taking prescription drugs for? That dates from 1967, almost 10 years before his terrible death. According to the NY Times, Elvis went to Dr. Nick at the time because he had saddle sores from years of riding a horse. But the newspaper claims that as time went on, Elvis increasingly sought the care of Dr. Nick, demanding assistance with everything from those blisters to his insomnia. Dr. Nick began working for Elvis full-time in 1970. He was also a difficult patient. Elvis was a firm believer there was a medicine for everything. The physician told American Medical News in 1981, according to the NYT. "You know how some people will sneeze and think they need a pill, or get a muscle cramp and want relief, or go to the dentist and need a painkiller. Others aren't bothered. Elvis was convinced he needed drugs. Dr. Nick informed the medical board that he had given the performer amphetamines, sedatives, barbiturates, and other medications as a result. Some context. According to the Mayo Clinic, barbiturates can cause constipation, and many have hypothesized that Elvis straining to go to the bathroom may have contributed to his fatal heart attack. There is some worry that Elvis' weight was a side effect of those medications. Even though his size frequently drew attention, he had a thing for fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Why was Dr. Nick taken to trial? Elvis claimed to have a variety of medical problems, but many questioned whether Dr. Nick had a legitimate reason for prescribing so many different prescriptions. Dr. Nick was charged with 14 charges of overprescribing narcotics to 14 musicians, including Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis, 3 years later, in 1980. The doctor was cleared by a jury, but his legal problems were far from done. The Tennessee Board of Medical Examiners filed charges against Dr. Nick once more in 1995. This time, according to the AP, the medical board found he committed gross malpractice and unethical conduct with 13 patients, including Jerry. The doctor himself agreed that some of his patients were addicts, yet he gave them their drug of choice, a board member said at the time. That's certainly unethical. Dr. Nick appealed the decision several times, with the NY Times reporting the doctor told the board he overprescribed because he cared too much. He went on to tell the Daily Beast in 2009, "No one understands that Elvis was so complicated. I worked so hard just to keep things together, and then they turned the tables on me after he died and decided I was to blame." Why is there a second autopsy report? The Presley family needed concrete information about what had transpired because there was so much speculation around Elvis passing. The Presley family reportedly demanded a second, private autopsy, which was performed but hasn't been made public yet. Why? As it turns out, Elvis' father, Vernon Presley, asked to have the subsequent autopsy sealed. According to reports, Vernon agreed to the autopsy secrecy until August 16, 2027, which will mark the 50th anniversary of Elvis' passing. The Tennessee Supreme Court reportedly turned down the ABC program 20/20's request for the release of the autopsy report in 1982, according to the New York Times. Where is Elvis Presley buried? The artist was laid to rest August 18, 1977 at his home Graceland in Memphis, 10, but that's only if you believe Elvis is actually dead. If you said, "Wait, what?" Just now, allow us to present the Spark Notes, which involve the FBI, the Mafia, and President Richard Nixon. Some conspiracy theorists believe that Elvis was an undercover FBI agent who went into witness protection because of his supposed ties to the Mafia. While there's no evidence to suggest there's any truth to this theory, Elvis can still be linked back to the FBI. Presley was the target of many extortion attempts investigated by the FBI. The government has a set of federal documents about the musician. Reactions to his music and stage presentation led concerned citizens to write the FBI suggesting that it investigate Presley. We did not. Why did Elvis Presley meet President Nixon? Then, there are those images showing Elvis and President Nixon. The Smithsonian Magazine reported that Elvis reached out in an effort to obtain a badge from the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. Their encounter in December 1970 alone is deserving of a movie. The king of rock and roll apparently enjoyed collecting badges. As for why he wanted that specific pin, well, I have done an in-depth study of drug abuse and communist brainwashing techniques. He wrote in a letter written to President, which is now preserved at the Nixon Presidential Library. And I am right in the middle of the whole thing, where I can and will do the most good. Nixon aide Edgell, Bud Krogh, was in the Oval Office at the time of the meeting, describing the surreal interaction to Smithsonian Mag. Presley indicated that he thought the Beatles had been a real force for anti-American spirit, Krogh recalled. The president then indicated that those who use drugs are also those in the vanguard of anti-American protests. Was Elvis Presley a member of the mob? Ultimately, Elvis got the shiny badge he asked for, something he was absolutely fixated on because, as ex-wife Priscilla Presley wrote in her memoir, it meant he could legally enter any country both wearing guns and carrying any drugs he wished. But it concludes the matter. Theories that he has ever been an undercover agent in any capacity are not supported by evidence. Regarding the connections to the Mafia, these are primarily due to Elvis' celebrity status and the fact that many famous people, think of Frank Sinatra and Marilyn Monroe, were involved in organized crime, so it stands to reason that Elvis may be too. But that does not imply that he is still alive. Therefore, let doubtful minds rest.